This is Dennis Hills. I'm a mobile developer advocate from AWS. And today we're going to talk about conversational mobile app interfaces with Amazon Lex and Mobile Hub. So the agenda for this webinar, we're going to try to pack this in 40 minutes. So sit back and enjoy or follow along if you feel like it. We're going to do a brief overview of serverless for mobile. Then we're going to talk about serverless on AWS for mobile. So there's the differences of how AWS handles serverless. And then we're going to create a mobile app, a real demo using Mobile Hub. And then we're going to go over a brief overview of AI services on AWS. And then we'll build a chatbot using Amazon Lex in their console. And then we'll go back, once we build that chatbot in the console, we're going to go back into Mobile Hub and then add that chatbot as an integration into our mobile app, build the app, and run it and demo both the mobile app and the chatbot integration. So let's get started. Okay, what you're looking at is a server. It's back in the day when we had racks of servers, a CPU, hardware, hot swappable drives. Some of you may be familiar with. That has all changed now. We have now the cloud is the new norm, and mobile developers like web developers, DevOps are all moving to the cloud for various reasons of cost savings, pay as you go, scaling, elasticity, all that available in the cloud. And so we're moving into a transition from that hardware classic to a EC2 is one of our virtual environments. A lot of the clouds have the virtual machines to run and spin up these servers very quickly so you can scale and then scale back down and not pay for usage when you're not using it. So serverless for mobile is an advantage because when you're developing a mobile app, you want to be able to get started quickly and then only pay for when your users are using your services. So there's no servers to provision or manage. So the nice thing is you're not setting up this Apache server. You're going in and configuring scripts to scale. You're going to be using serverless services such as Lambda, in our case, to provision your code, put it in there, and then just let it sit there. And in our case, you're not paying anything for letting your code sit there until it's actually being used. And there's also this generous free tier. So think about this as you're not setting up a server and provisioning it, waiting for it, and paying for that server while you're waiting for your customers to come in. You're not paying for anything. And then it scales with usage. So literally, how we're designing this today is you can go from 0 to hero within a day or two. And so you set up this app, set up this back end, you release to the App Store, and you can go from 0 to 1 million users literally in 24 hours. That's the power of the cloud. So again, you never pay for idle. You're not over provisioning. So back in the day, it was like $1 million to set up a mobile app and website. And that was because of the infrastructure cost, over provisioning, all that stuff is gone now because we have the serverless environment available and you only pay for what you use. And availability is built in with fault tolerance, everything else inside of those serverless APIs. So take a look at that. So what serverless looks like on AWS is we have these I call it the three core serverless services available for mobile developers. One is Cognito, and this is for authentication, authorization, and allows you to allow your users to log in with username and password, Facebook, Google, whatever it might be, and then they go into API Gateway, which is one of our other serverless services which offer a RESTful API. So think about regular RESTful API, get, put, post, and then interacting with Lambda, which is your business logic. So think about your old Apache or Node.js service, and Lambda is behind the scenes, there's actually a server, but for you, you just need to worry about the code within Lambda, and Lambda will scale and elastic growth for you. So you just put the code in there and make those calls to API Gateway, get put, goes into Lambda, and then it just scales. And then everything else is fault tolerant built in. And then from Lambda, you can call pretty much anything within AWS or outside, any HTTPS endpoint you want. So you have another API server connection you want to make, you can do that from Lambda as well. So those are the three pieces: Cognito, API Gateway, and Lambda is building that API backend for not only mobile, but also for web. So think about these pieces. And this cloud identity, cloud logic, cloud storage, and messaging are all available as features through Mobile Hub. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. We'll go through those features and build out a mobile app. So Some of the most common features is auth. We talked about Cognito, server-side logic, which is Lambda API gateway. You can synchronize just like a cloud environment, sync multiple devices for a single person. And then one of the really important pieces, don't forget, is adding analytics to your mobile app. You got to understand what your users are doing, how they're doing it, where they're coming from. And that tells the whole story of what features you're going to develop next, what kind of problems you're going to have are going to occur, and then how to engage with those users. You can use Pinpoint, one of our services, to engage those users with push, SMS, however you want to do it. Remember, you want to be able to engage those users from day one, and in order to do that, you want to store those analytics. So it's really important as a mobile developer. And then the other piece is store and share media. Amazon S3, some of you are probably already familiar with. Really great integration with Mobile Hub and your mobile apps is to be able to allow users to upload photos or share videos and photos with your mobile users. And then CloudFront, if you want to distribute those globally, you have those edge points that can automatically clash so they don't have to go all back to your main S3 bucket. And then push notifications and engagement, all those same pieces we're engaging your users and try to get them to come back. Retention is really important. And then we also have RDS, which is part of the Amazon services, and we have DynamoDB, which is the serverless piece again, which is the NoSQL database solution for you. And again, what we're going to be talking about is the chatbot integration. So simply build the chatbot and then integrate it into Mobile Hub, into your mobile app, and then just start interacting with text or voice with Amazon Lex. Okay, so Mobile Hub is a free service to use. It's an aggregator of all AWS services for mobile developers. And it's feature-based. Instead of going into services, we talk about features like user sign-in. I'm a mobile developer. I want to come in and I want to add an API, Cloud Logic. I want to add data storage. I want to add database. I want to add conversational bot. I want to add analytics, that kind of thing. So these are feature-based where as you go through this, and we'll go through a demo here in a few minutes, we're going to click on user sign-in, add a user there, and create this Cloud Logic. And what it's doing behind the scenes is creating the base authorization through Cognito, and then creating these services behind the scenes of Amazon API Gateway and AWS Lambda, and then putting that picture in together that we just talked about earlier, which is this piece where it goes in, that whole flow goes back into the services. So now we'll switch over to demo, and I'm going to go through this live and just demo a quick mobile app, and then we'll go into the Lex chatbot. So if you go into the main console, we're going to go search for Mobile Hub, and you can follow along if you'd like. It's fairly quick, and again, it's the service is free. It's just the features that we enable will have their own pricing tier. So just take a look at that. But just setting it up today, you can tear it down, and it won't cost you anything really because you have the built-in free tiers of some of the other features. So we'll create a new project. We'll call it Webby and set it there. So this is setting that stage so that you can create these, add these features. So we'll do sign in. We'll do quickly allow username and password to sign in. And what this is doing behind the scenes is creating a Cognito setup so that we can have our users log in with username and password or not. It also provides the anonymous piece so you can allow them to interact with the chatbot or interact with any or other AWS services without actually logging in. So then we'll build a couple more features here. We'll go into the Cloud Logic, which is, remember, this is building out the API. This is really important for those cross-platform, native web developers, whatever it is. Build a really great API and then start building the interfaces, because that's really what we're all about, is building that back-end infrastructure and building this API. Let's say we're going to do a vehicle example, and then we're going to put it in here and create this API. So what this is doing is creating this API gateway endpoint, which is going to allow us to do a get, a put, and post to this vehicle web endpoint. And then it's going to go into a default Lambda function that we created that just gives you back a JSON blob of 200 response. And then you can go into that Lambda function and modify it however you want. So you'll get the whole flow of the user logging into the mobile app, connecting it to your API endpoint, and then making that connection. So you'll be able to see the whole feature running through. And then data storage feature, just S3. It's creating an S3 bucket with permissions for that Cognito user. And that was pretty much it. Creates a bucket with the right permissions. And again, when we talk about building secure, scalable apps, the scalable piece is this whole Cloud Logic piece of all these serverless environments. But the secure piece is by default, we're enabling this cognito identifier so that those users you're protecting your resources, and those users are allowed to go in and access those resources anonymously, or they can access them and get more features like a pro user when they log in. So it's really important there. And then analytics is another one. Just by default, you're creating a default application here. I already have probably one created, and so we'll let that run through. So the analytics piece will be created, and then SDK will be built into the application itself. So when we launch this app, it'll automatically start tracking user demographics. It'll track sessions, session lengths, whatever it might be. And then you can add custom events if you want. And we'll come back to this a little bit later with the conversational bots. When we create one, we'll be able to import it here, select it, and we're done. It will integrate with the Alexa SDK. It'll put in the piece for the text and voice, and that'll be great. And then we'll be able to test it out. So that's Mobile Hub. And now let's go into back into the presentation. I'll talk about the bots, and then we'll build a bot demo. Okay, so I want to talk about a little bit the 3 services that are available to you as developers. Is the recognition piece, which is I won't go into too much default, but the recognition is the visual identifier. So anything you upload images, it'll index those and tell you like faces and recognize and compare faces and landscapes, whatever it might be, and throw indexes on there. Very cool service. And we'll probably be doing a webinar shortly on that, where mobile developers could take advantage of your users uploading photos, landscapes, whatever it might be, and automatically indexing it, like you've seen with some of the other photo sharing applications. And you could build that in there and start monetizing from that right away. Speech poly, which is important to know, it's just text to voice. And so that's integrated with the chatbot that we'll talk about in a minute. And really just, you think about books, you want to just read the text back or read an email back to you, whatever it might be. Just think of putting a voice to that text. And then the last piece is Amazon Lex, which offers the chatbot, which is both interacting with text and voice, and it goes back into a Lambda function. That's why that serverless piece is important. If you're an Alexa developer or an Amazon Lex developer, all of it goes back into that same Lambda function. So as you're developing this, you can tie in back into those features. So once you build out these skills, you'll be able to cross back into Amazon Alexa and Lex back and forth. So again, Lex is just that conversational interface. Recognition is the deep learning based image recognition. And then Poly, which is incorporated with the Lex chatbot and turns text into lifelike speech. So here's what an interaction is. This is important because this is a managed service that we're going to talk about with Lex. And it allows you to create this conversation interface into your API. So just take out all the AI machine learning piece of it and think about this as another layer on top of your API. So we have this regular API and we're adding voice to it. So instead of somebody clicking a button, a drop down, what's my vehicle worth, they can go in and say, what's my vehicle worth? And then the bot will go back into Lambda, query the API and say, okay, we're going to give you this vehicle value based on all the conversation we just had. So it's very powerful stuff. And then it allows you to innovate and allows you to provide another interface for your mobile developer or mobile users. So it's really cool. And then it ties in to, again, the other AWS services. So understanding that serverless environment through Lambda is really great. So here's what it might look like. We just recently worked with Kelley Blue Book, and they created a proof of concept chatbot to give you a kind of a real world life experience of what they've went through. And what they've done is provide, as many of you might know, is Kelley Blue Book at kbb.com, and they have a site that you can go to and get the real-time trade-in value for your vehicle based on your location. And so you can see here this vehicle market value where it's asking for like a year, make, model, mileage, category, style, condition. And it goes through, and each time somebody talks into Amazon Lex, it translates that voice into text and puts them into specific channels and puts them, think of those as variables. So if it's looking for year and it's saying, okay, my year is 2009, it'll take that 2009 and put it in as a number instead of like spelling out 2009. Pass that back into Lambda, and then Lambda can query an API, query a backend database, whatever it might be, and then respond back to text to Lex, and Lex turns that text into voice through Poly. So that's the whole flow of this whole chatbot. So let's go ahead and go switch back to demo, and I'll run through the console real quick. So we're going to switch consoles here, and we're going to go switching over to the Lex console, and we're going to build out this piece. So with the time constraint, I'm going to go over a vehicle value one, just like what we did with Kelley Blue Book, but just kind of slim it down a little bit, and we'll talk about year, make, and model, and then go through the three pieces of creating the intent, and then the utterances, and then the different channels that we can provide. So click on here, and I'll show you kind of what an example of what these might look like. So we'll talk about intents. So a single chatbot can have multiple intents. In this case, we just created a trade value. So we're talking about this vehicle value, and we want to create this trade value for a vehicle. And it could be anything. You could have it do all these different intents, but for now, we'll just do the one intent. So think about a bot that can have multiple intents to it. And then the second piece is the utterances. Utterance start out small, and you create a few here and there, and then you build out based on what users. Everybody has a different way of saying things. Like as you can see from this list, it says, what is my vehicle worth? Get trade-in value. Yo, what's my vehicle worth? Whatever it is, just these are natural conversation ways that the users may interact with your chatbot. And so we always suggest is create like 1, 2, or 3 of them. And then the great thing about Lex is, if you look here real quick, there's a monitoring tab and utterances. So we could pick out, say, yeah, chatbot is my car. I mean, all these are missed utterances from mobile users. So you can go back in and see that there's a common miscount of people not talking at all. They just launch it and they're not talking at all. So I wouldn't add this as an utterance, but you'll be able to see different things that people might say. And if there's a common utterance, you can automatically add that to your chatbot real time and then add that. So you're building out this smart chatbot with utterances based on the missed utterances monitoring channel. So that's really important to get from Lex. So build out a few what you might think are valuable, and then add to them as you see those missed utterances come in. So the third piece, slots, very important piece. And this is where kind of the power of Lex comes in, really kind of ties in with, again, Amazon Alexa is the engine to Lex. So if you've created a Alexa skill, this really ties in closely to what you're doing here. And what the slots are, is you create these slot types. You could either built in or custom. The custom ones are ones that like you just regular text, like you could see where vehicle make and model, I created this regular slot text type. Those are pretty really familiar and basic, but the slot type, the built-in ones from Amazon are really important. I'll do a drop down to show you that we have organization, person, postal code, we have European cities, resident, room, all these different values that are important, to utilize if your chatbot demands that. So if you're doing like some sports things, you would want to use the Amazon Sport or Sport Event or something. So in this case, I use number for the year, because remember I was talking about if I didn't have that in there, it would be text. As soon as I said 2009, it's going to say TWO 1009 and then start spelling it out. And that wouldn't make any sense to my bot because I'm looking for a number. Just like a city, it's like, if I say, whatever a city in Europe, I would say a city, and then it would be able to understand what that city was and kind of make that inference of here, this is the city in Europe. And then again, sports events, services, whatever those are. The other piece to this is if you do some of the built-in models that we have, like ordering flowers and stuff, the dates are huge. And you're probably used to this and becomes a norm for you nowadays when you're interacting with Siri or Google Assistant. When you say, book me a car tomorrow, it knows that tomorrow is Thursday. Yep, today's Wednesday, right? So I can say, book a car for me tomorrow, and it knows tomorrow's Thursday. So if I say, book a car for me today at 6 a.m., and it knows where I am and knows that 6 o'clock already passed, it already determines, hey, that's the wrong date. And then so it could go back and create an API. So that's really important to understand the value of creating this built-in type that would provide dates and times and everything else. So you can say like 8 a.m., it would know, or it would do difference of time zones. Like give me, make an appointment, a 2-hour appointment between like 12 a.m. and 11 p.m. And it's like, okay, wait, so it's like trying to figure out, so it would know where to put that appointment in, and it would know the hours of that clinic, so it would put that, squeeze that in. So important to understand the slot types, when you can utilize them, use them. If not, create a custom slot type. And these slot types can be reused. That's what's really nice about it. You go back in, and I could reuse this make and model slot type if it was custom, if I had different details in there, and I could reuse that and put it into another chatbot. So in here, what you'll see is for these values, each one is a prompt. So right now I have required vehicle, year, make, and model. And again, I have the built-in type for a number for the year, and then the custom make, which is basically just text. And then each one, you'll see I have a prompt. So what year is your vehicle? So if it's missing the year and that's the next prompt, it's going to say, what year is your vehicle? And I'll go through a demo, so it should make sense. And then the next thing would be say, once it has the year, it'll say, what make is your vehicle? And then the next one will be what model. And you see these, the brackets. The brackets are important because it'll repeat what you've already said. So if it knows the year, then it already puts that in a JSON file, passes it back to Lambda, and Lambda will pass it all back and forth. So once it understands year, it's done. So think about that as a set variable. Then it says, okay, I got year, I need to get the make. And then once I got make, it provides the make and goes back and iterates through. And you can see that when we had that flow of the Kelley Blue Book chatbot, it went through and then back and forth with the different variables. And it knows once all those variables are fulfilled, it'll go back in Lambda and say, hey, Lambda, I got everything you need. Go ahead and get me that real-time value. And then it'll go back into the API and then give you that real-time value. So let's take a quick look at it. Let's I'm gonna move this. There we go. So let me see if you can see this here. So I want to just type in one thing. Hopefully you can see this on the screen. I'm going to say, what is my vehicle worth? And then immediately it says, what year is your vehicle? Remember this prompt here, so it's what year, and I'm going to say 2000. And then what make? Okay, it's, I think, yeah, I have a Honda. Okay. What model is your Honda? It's a Civic. And then it's done. So it satisfied all three of those requirements. Then it's sent back to Lambda, said, great. And then Lambda says, okay, your 2000 Honda Civic is ready to be validated for trade-in. Do you want me to call the fake API? So the idea is like, and that's all coming from Lambda. And I could show you that Lambda function in a few minutes. It's just taking these pieces from Lex, translated into these the values, and then returning this value. And then the same thing with a voice interaction. And I'll show you the voice interaction real quick. Well, let's go ahead and play the demo video, and then you'll be able to see the voice interaction with Kelley Blue Book.
What is my 2012 Honda worth?
What model is your 2012 Honda?
Civic.
Is this Honda Civic a sedan or coupe?
Sedan.
What style is your Civic sedan?
Hybrid.
What is the condition of your Civic?
Very good.
How many miles on this 2012 Honda?
58,629.
The current Kelley Blue Book trade-in value for your 2012 Honda Civic Hybrid sedan with 58,629 miles is $7,069.
Great. Okay. So you saw that interaction was with the proof concept that we had with Kelley Blue Book. So you can see the interaction, and there's a lot of, here, let me share the screen back here. We're back at the Amazon Lex console here. So hopefully you can see the interaction there. And there's a couple things where I can say, let's type into this again. Let's try to trick it a little bit. Let's say, what is my 2000, let's see, what is my Honda worth? And let's see what it does. What year is your vehicle? So right now it says, okay, let's see what it does. It says, okay, I have a Honda. It says 2001. Now, what model is your Honda? See, notice how it picked up that Honda was the first thing I said, even though it was kind of out of order. So the idea with the chatbot is trying to get all these little different utterances so it would pick out, and then different ways of somebody saying like, what year's your vehicle, or like, what is my Honda worth, or what is my 2012 worth? And it could do certain interactions with that. And then if I say what model, if I say whatever, it should come back and say, we don't have a blah, blah, blah vehicle model in our inventory, and go back. You can also add different cards to this. So you could actually show a picture of these cards, Explorer, Civic, Malibu, whatever it might be. And so you can interact with that and just choose it instead of actually saying it. So all these are available to you. And then you have this, this option to do latest or these different versioning. So you could test it out and say, okay, I'm going to release this version 1. And then the latest one is we're going to build it out and then release it. And once you build it, this is ready for release to the different channels. And so while we're here, I'm going to talk about the different channels that are available for Amazon Lex. And that is Facebook, Slack, and Twilio. And so with Facebook, again, if you've ever been in Facebook Messenger, there's opportunities to integrate with the chatbot. You'd be talking to your friend, and then you can integrate with one of the chatbots and start talking to them, order stuff, ask questions, when's the next eclipse, whatever it might be. Slack, the same sort of thing where you could be in a Slack channel, and then people can be interacting with a person or a chatbot within their work environment or publicly. And then Twilio is another great one because it's just, think about your mobile app, but then all of a sudden we're mobile, but we can do this without actually creating an app itself. So we could have this whole chatbot working, and I'll go through a quick demonstration of that because I think this is pretty cool. So we'll go back in. Hopefully you can see my screen here. And this is, I'll show you what the sample app will be. But the interaction here, we have this mobile app, but also I can go into text and say, so I've created this Twilio integration with a phone number, and I can go in and say, what is my, what is my vehicle worth? I type in really fast. And it should go back in, what year is your vehicle? 2003. And then what make? Honda. Okay, so you get the idea. So what this is doing is this is integrating with the Twilio, and Twilio is going to the Amazon Lex chatbot, and then of course the chatbot is going to Lambda, just like we did with the interface. So you could do this with voting. You could set up commerce, whatever you wanted to do. You create this chatbot, and you can create all these different distribution channels, and then more channels will be out there available to you. So think about all this opportunity that you're creating with just creating this one bot, and this bot can be just built out and then distributed through these different channels. So you're no longer restricted to a mobile app, no longer restricted to a website. You could do chat, Slack, and Messenger all at the same time. So that's great. So now let's go back into the editor here, and then let's talk about utterances real quick. We got a few minutes. So again, utterances are just like how you might want to predict how your users are going to do. So like if I just say, you could, anything you want to do, cash in my vehicle, whatever, and you could put in the parentheses if you want, and so it's going to look for those values as soon as somebody has that phrase. So you can put it in there and then sample. Again, build it out, a few of them, and then go into the monitoring piece and kind of understand where that's coming from. There's also, in the monitoring piece, you can also see the different, the graphs of like text requests and search requests and all the other valuable information you get to see how people are using your chatbot. And again, you could actually use Pinpoint, which is the analytics piece we talked about, to actually create custom events based on what the interaction with these bots are in a mobile app. Okay, so we created this trade value ones. We built it out. Now let's go back into the console. We're going to go back into Mobile Hub. And then we did a Webby, right? So we're going to go back into Webby. And remember, we create all these little back-end resources for us. And then we'll go back into conversational bots and book a trip, order flowers, make an appointment. These are all set up for you to build out this environment to test it out. So if you want to go try it out on your own, you can add those in. But we did a real world example. We're going to do import a bot. This is the ones we created in the Amazon Lex console. And then let's choose vehicle value and then import. And it seems fairly simple. It's like, why are we doing this? But what this is doing is creating that Amazon Lex SDK, so you don't have to do it. And then it's going to integrate with your authenticated or unauthenticated users, so they can automatically start accessing and interacting with the chatbot without having anybody else outside the world being able to integrate with it. Other than, of course, we did Twilio, but now only Twilio users and your mobile app users can interact with your chatbot. And again, it's going to put in a nice interface for voice and text. So now we're done here. Let's go ahead and go back in here, and we'll see on the integrate side, once you're done creating all these features, we're going to go into the integration piece in iOS, Swift, Objective-C, or Android for native web applications, and there's sample apps. And so let's say I'm an iOS Swift developer. I could download this custom app, which we're going to do right now. And this is a Xcode project ready to build and run on your device to test against your resources that we just enabled. And then option 2 is a piece like, okay, great, I understand the sample works awesome. This is really great. I can present it to the team. We're ready to go. Let's roll. Go into the integration piece and say, we got our existing app, folks. Let's go ahead and integrate all these pieces we just built with Mobile Hub, including the chatbot, and then you're done. So the idea is we want to be able to have you come in here, seamless integration, quick deployment, and build out these proof of concepts, run the sample app, integrate your own app, and let's get this going. So now we've downloaded this, and it's called Webby. I'm going to go ahead and run this real quick to see the power. Like, notice we did this in a few minutes. We can click in. Again, all we did is we ran it from the desktop. We clicked on the Xcode project, and I don't want to send it before. Okay. Close that. Okay, now we're back. So the one thing we have to do as iOS developers, I'm going to go ahead and just say yes, Xcode signing, which is really nice feature because, as many of you might know, that there was always an issue trying to get that provisioning profile signed. Okay. So now we have Den's iPhone set up, and I've already got it linked, so we're going to go ahead and run it on the physical phone I got connected here. So we'll go back into QuickTime, and then we'll run it. And this is these are the features we enabled through Mobile Hub. And we're going to run this through, probably run a few indexes, run the sample app. So it's really nice is a lot of feedback we're getting from developers saying this is great to have the sample app. This is awesome because it's full end-to-end. So this is functioning against your resources, and then they can go build it out if they want. So again, we enabled user sign-in, Cloud Logic, conversational bots, and remember I had that issue with the analytics piece, but there would be an analytics piece in here. We'd select it. By default, start collecting the session user demographics and everything else. So if we do sign-in, we could demonstrate the whole sign-in feature, like we've taken care of all these, the interfaces for you to use username, password. I could sign in or not. In this case, for demonstration purposes, we're anonymous, which is not really think about anybody. Think anonymous, non-authenticated users on this app that can connect into the chatbot. So you can add later, you can add features. Say if you've signed in, I can get you more information from the chatbot or access more resources. So the conversational bot piece. Remember, we just enabled that piece in the vehicle value. We built the bot there. Now we have the option to integrate with the voice or text. So if I say text, it should, what is my vehicle worth?
What year is your vehicle?
2002.
What make is your 2002 vehicle?
Honda.
What model is your 2002?
So you get the idea. So what we were able to do is create this bot, go back into Mobile Hub, create this mobile app, and connect into it within minutes. So think about anytime you're doing a chatbot, mobile app, start with Mobile Hub and build out your resources, integrate with the chatbot, and then you could do voice, text, whatever it might be. That way you can see how things are working, what it might look like on mobile app, because you can't do this with Alexa. So start with a mobile app and integrate with this. So we have this built in with this text interaction and the voice. Permissions already set up. Try it out, and then it'll be great because then you could be able to, like, say, sell this point where it works end to end, and then demonstrate it, and then build it out into your own app. So really, that's the whole process of building a mobile app. The serverless piece we talked about is really important. Amazon API Gateway, and then Lambda, Mobile Hub to start with. So anytime a mobile developer needs to start, you want to provision resources, think about Mobile Hub. Then you go into Lex Channel or Lex Console, build out that Lex bot, and then you can go back in and integrate with Mobile Hub. And as new services features are released by AWS and they involve mobile developers to take advantage of it, we will integrate that with one of those feature cards and say, you know, a new service comes out, say, you know, we launch you to the moon, we'll enable that service and enable you to go to the moon with that mobile